Hello, lovely. Welcome to today's live. I have my hot water bottle with me today because it has been extremely cold in our house. Not seem to be able to manage to get anything up to temperature because of the such cold weather outside. Um, but never mind, hot water bottles, the answer to everything. That and waterproof trousers. That's my advice for living in England as an Australian. Anyway, we're going to talk today about whether you can figure out your mission in life in 5 days, of which my answer is pretty clearly highly, highly unlikely. So that might make you wonder, why am I doing this 5 day challenge? What do I think that you can achieve in those 5 days? And I guess the story behind this is that ever since I left my job and tried to find out what it was that I wanted to be doing in my life, I've done so much reading, so many podcasts, various different kinds of exercises. So I've really built up a toolkit. I've trained in career coaching. I'm a firework trained coach. But I've got this huge toolkit of things that we can do to help figure out what it is that really makes us tick, what makes us want to get up in the morning, what gives us a life that has a bit more purpose than maybe you have at the moment. And all of those things I've brought into my Missions Accepted program, and people can work through those exercises for themselves, and out of that learn to find out what it is that makes them really tick. Now, for a free 5 day challenge, obviously, we can't cover all of those things. So what I've done is I've taken the things that really the initial steps of my Missions Accepted program that are so fundamental that it's absolutely worth us doing those things now if you're at that very beginning stage of your journey. It's actually quite useful to do even if you're not at the beginning stage of the journey, because revisiting these steps, they are the basic foundations. And I want to be able to share those with you over the 5 days of the challenge and support you through doing them and for whatever comes up for you in that process. Because if you're going to go down this journey, this is what you need to do to at least get started. So how long does it take? Honestly, I mean, I have had clients work with me in the program who have been up and running in a few months with something that they're highly motivated by, wouldn't dream that they could have been doing a few months ago. And for others, it's a much longer process. And it's not necessarily something that you should be doing quickly, figuring out what's going on for you and what really motivates you. We've got so many layers of stuff that we think is what motivates us that sometimes we really have to do some stripping back to find out what the thing is. So, for example, I've said this before, it took me a good couple of years to work out that the thing that motivates me is that I don't like waste. Really, that motivates me so much of my life. So I don't like wasting electricity, I don't like wasting water, but the waste of human potential really gets my goat. And so that's why I now do work where I'm trying to prevent the waste of human potential. If you're, someone who's been working in your role for 20 years and you've fallen out of love with it, I do not want you to waste your potential any longer than is necessary on a job or a role that does nothing for you. Because if we can take you out of there and we can put you somewhere that is much more motivating for you, then the world is a better place. Because the chances are you'll be doing something that's really passionate to you and has meaning for you and probably has a much more positive impact on the world. And I want to see everyone, but particularly Gen X women, because obviously that's me and my friends and a particular demographic that I feel has so much to add that is not being used, that is being wasted. Now, that took me a couple of years to figure that out about myself, and it probably impacts all aspects of the work that I do. So, no, you're probably not going to get there in 5 days. I mean, it'd be fabulous if you really had a massive, aha moment and you could really see the future path ahead of you, and it's possible, but it's really, really unlikely. But we can do the first things, because this work involves some pretty deep self-reflection. It often involves overcoming limiting beliefs that you have about what is possible for you to do. And so we really try to work on that. It takes unlearning the socialization that many of us as women have had, because we do, again, I guess it ties in with limiting beliefs, but it's so subtle that we don't realize what is there. And we need to untangle ourselves from that to really see what is possible. So, for example, I have the wonderful Louise Ballard, who has worked with me, who is, embracing AI at an age that many of us might think that we're not really, cut out to do that kind of thing. But she's unlearned the bit that says an older woman cannot be doing this kind of work. And I'm sure she's challenging that in lots of different ways. It also takes coming to terms with learning to manage our inner critic, because the inner critic is so good at stopping us from moving forward and for playing a little bit bigger. And sometimes it also just takes time for things to settle. Like you might do an exercise, there is a bit of a breakthrough, and then you really need to sit with that for a little while, so that whatever your heart's telling you, your brain kind of has time to catch up with and to process, and it starts working away in the background and coming up with things. So yeah, unlikely that all that is going to happen in 5 days. So how about I tell you what will happen in the 5 days, or what it is that we're covering in that time. So we begin by taking stock of where you are now and really trying to get an understanding of where you're at, and whether this is a journey that you really are ready to go on, and how this is showing up for you, so that we kind of know our starting point and what that will look like if you decide to stay, or what it might look like if you decide to leave, so that your brain can already start looking at what the possibilities might be. We do some work on values, because there is just no point in going forward on this kind of journey without understanding the values that are important to you. And they may be very different from someone else's values. A lot of us feel there are values that we should have, but actually, when it comes down to it, it's not necessarily, we can't even think of ways that we want that to show up into our lives. And there might be something else that is much more important. And I do think that when we're in jobs where our values are compromised or misaligned with the work that we do, that has an extremely negative impact on us, not just mentally, but physically as well. And your body starts rejecting what you're doing. So if you're feeling ill when you go to work, if you're feeling this extreme heaviness when you go to work, then potentially there's a misalignment with your values. And we really need to know what that is, so that we make sure we don't repeat that with anything else that you do in the future. We do some inner critic work, because, as I've said, fundamental to managing your inner critic is so important as you go forward and start taking on some things that might really challenge your inner critic, who's just trying to keep you safe on the couch watching Netflix, so that you don't put yourself out there at all. And we really need to know how to manage that at all. And then we just do some more work around what's really important to you. We've got some exercises around that. And again, what's important to you may have changed over the years, and also may be very different from what you think should be important to you at this time. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we're covering. We will also touch on to other issues as well, but it will give you the foundations for whatever your next steps might be. And I, of course, will be offering some thoughts around that. And it may also give you clarity as to, what, I'm actually quite fine where I am right now. I don't actually think I do need to go down this path. And then if that's the conclusion you come to, then that's great, because you can put that aside and concentrate on other things and absolutely flourishing in the career that you're already in. And it might give you lots of ideas about how you can do that in your own career, or some changes you might need to make at the places that you currently work. But there'll be, again, clarity around that, rather than agonizing over it and wondering. You'll be much clearer. So I would absolutely love you to join me. It's completely free. It starts on January the 20th. You will need to, it all happens inside a Facebook group, so you will need to be comfortable with using Facebook. I know some people would prefer not to. Sometimes people just will sign up for a challenge like this and then shut it down afterwards. But it is the best platform to be able to do this kind of community group work in at the moment. So that's what we'll need to do. So there's a link there. I would love, 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 love you to come along. I have so much I want to share in that time. In terms of time commitments, it's around about half an hour each day for the exercises. You can do more, but that you should be able to complete the tasks that have been set in half an hour. But if it sets you off on a on a good journey, then you can certainly do more if you want to. And then half an hour to an hour in the evenings, just depending on how many questions we get and what people want to discuss, from 7:30 in the evenings from Monday to Friday for that week. And just a chance for us to debrief and any questions that you might have for me at the end of that. So I want to give you as much knowledge as I possibly can, as much as my experience, things that I can share from other people that I've worked with that might be helpful. I just want you to take these first steps. If you are unhappy in the work that you're doing, if you feel unfulfilled, if you feel that there's potentially more that you could be doing for yourself and for others, then this is a really gentle way in. And I know people are busy, but if you can, we have so many different things competing with our time. But if you might be someone who really doesn't prioritize your own needs in your own time because you've got so many other people who need things from you, just for this 1 week, if you can give yourself those evenings, bring a glass of wine, bring a hot chocolate, bring whatever you like, and see that as some time for yourself, because it could be the start of what really changes things for you, if that's what you're looking for, is for some change. Okay, so the link is there. If you can click on that, and I will see you over in the challenge on January the 20th.